Hey everybody, just want to share with you what this amazing video you're about to watch is all about. We have hundreds, if not thousands of you currently leading your churches remotely, digitally, online, whatever the phrase that you want to use is, and you are doing amazing things. And in the course of watching so many of you over the last few weeks, I was like, hey, we need to get some of these alumni together on a Zoom call and let them share what's been working, what hasn't been working, cautions, awesome things, whatever the case may be. So we brought some together, we've recorded it, and now we're giving it to you. And use this information, let it affirm what you're doing, let it challenge you and be like, oh my goodness, that's the best idea I've ever heard, I have to use that. Whatever the case may be. And then please let us know extra things you're doing, things that this maybe inspired you to talk about. And please share those ideas and those comments with us so we can all be a resource to each other. Thanks, guys. Hey everybody, Joel Johnson here, Director of Alumni Relations at Southeastern University, here with some awesome pastors and church people and alumni of our beloved Southeastern University. And we are just here to share some knowledge with you about what pastors have found that's working great, what's not been working. And we just want to provide a resource for you. So we're going to go around the room and introduce yourselves. Josh, if you'd go first, please.
Yeah, Josh O'Connor, class of '07. And lead pastor at Greenville First Assembly in Greenville, South Carolina.
Thank you. Ed?
Ed Frost, class of '92, and I'm in Fort Mill, South Carolina at Real Life Church, and this is my beautiful wife, Christy.
Thank you. Jason?
Hey, we're Jason and Liz Burns. We graduated December 2003, and we started Access Church here in beautiful Lakeland, Florida.
And Jason has just finished up his doctoral degree as well, correct?
Yeah, haven't graduated yet, but my cap and gown, the regalia, showed up in the mail today.
Nice, congratulations.
I'm gonna wear it for no reason.
Alan.
Alan Griffin, evangelist, based here in Daytona Beach, Florida, at Calvary Christian Center, Ormond Beach.
And you are finishing your doctorate as well, right?
Hopefully today, pray soon.
All right. Mark and Michelle.
Mark and Michelle Benson. Hey, we are graduates, proud graduates of Southeastern from 1994, and seems like only yesterday, but we're in Dothan, Alabama. We've been pastoring as lead pastors now for 3.5 years here in Dothan.
Thank you. Trent?
Hey, my name's Trent Thompson, and I'm up in the frozen tundra of Northeastern Ohio, and I'm feeling really led to go back south right now. So we currently have snow. I graduated in 1992 from Southeastern U, and I'm currently campus pastor at Living Water Church, which is a multi-site church here in the Massillon, Dalton, Ohio area. Thanks for having us today.
And Rhonda.
I'm Rhonda McGinnis. I'm from the class of '92. And I am an executive pastor near Atlanta, Georgia. I'm a presbyter for the Georgia district, and I head up the network of women ministers for Georgia, and I'm on part of the national board for that as well. Thrilled to be here with you today.
Thank you guys. Thank you guys so much. Okay, let's jump right in. First of all, I want to know how long you guys have been doing this remotely. Jason, can you fill us in?
Yeah, so we meet in a high school still. We actually just got our first building as a church. It's in the process of being built out. Super excited about that. Because we're in a high school, some of the decisions are taken out of our hands. And so the weekend of March 15th, we were expecting to have church. They told us we could have church. And then Friday afternoon, the 13th, they said psych, and they told us we couldn't have church. And so we immediately became an online church, and have been doing it ever since.
Yep, very good. Josh, what about you guys?
This past Sunday was our 4th Sunday remotely. South Carolina was a little late to the table closing things down, but we were 4 weeks.
Okay. Trent, you guys?
Yeah, so I think Ohio is one of those early adopters, and so we've been fully online for over 5 weeks.
Okay, nice. So it seems like we're all kind of in that same realm. I got shut down from the office about the same time. So we're all doing that working from home thing. A couple questions. So all of you are basically doing online services in one way, shape, or form. So we all have that in common. But what else are you uniquely doing for your ministry or for your church? Mark and Michelle?
Okay, so we obviously, like everybody else, had to shift gears quickly, but one of the things that we found was that one platform, two platforms of online resourcing was just not enough. So we did everything from the, like most churches, Zoom and Skype and FaceTime and free conference call online, just to get everybody connected through those mediums for meetings. But then we picked every outlet we could find out there: YouTube, Vimeo, Facebook Live, Instagram, Twitter, our website, live stream, podcast. I mean, we just had to shift gears very quickly because we found that you can have a failure point. And if you have one failure point on a Sunday morning, you just lost somebody, especially if they're not technically savvy. You just lost them as a potential connection for the ministry and for the Lord. And so that was something that we had to do right away. The other thing we noted was when you go through sermon.net or one of the other major online carriers, everybody's doing it now, and there's so many more hits. So we found going 15 minutes early or earlier than the normal, like 10 o'clock hour, was really helpful because we got on and had no issues after that. We also found that being ready on Facebook Live, just in case something happens, was always good to shift gears.
We had to do that a few times.
That's right. And then I think the most important was to pre-record all the services. We started doing it on Thursdays. Now we've moved it to Tuesdays. We don't want to get too far from Sunday because a lot is fluid and decisions that are being made by the president. We want to be up to date with that. But the pre-record helped us to do a lot of post-edit and make it more connected to people during this time.
Ed, you and I talked the other day. You did some neat things for kids for Easter. What'd you guys do there?
Well, what we did, we made bags for every household.
That's right, yeah.
It says Easter at Home with RLC. And so we got some people to help us deliver everyone in the church. And those bags included, books for the kids, Easter books, candy. Every kid in the house got a chocolate cross. But then I'd also ordered some olive wood communion cups. So we put communion cups in there for everyone. And on Easter Sunday, I led communion at the end of the service. So the church family they had something tangible that connected that church family together. I mean, we all have a lot of other people watching our services right now. Mm-hmm. And so that helped there. What I saw too was what was amazing to me is how much being at home, dads for the first time led communion with their kids, with their family, the very first time ever. And so you're seeing ministry taking place, which what we always try to encourage, but they just rely on us to lead them. And we're seeing where people are actually stepping up and doing the ministry, just put it in their hands. So that's pretty cool. But yeah, the kids, like I said, we just made sure they had something special. I know some families opened those bags when the service started. Mm-hmm. And it was like Christmas, handing out chocolate to the kids and stuff. So, yeah. But that's pretty cool. And then, with our youth, I don't want to be too long here. With our youth, it's just really fun to just do games with them on Zoom. Okay. It's scavenger hunt on Zoom. First one to show me first one to show us a toilet plunger. And, and we're giving out Amazon gift cards online, for prizes all the time. It's the best gift right now to give. So yeah, you find those, but what I love the best is seeing how people are becoming ministers in their homes.
That's cool.
Because of it.
Yeah.
So
Rhonda, question for you as an executive pastor and working with women's ministries, anything you've found that you're doing that's not in your normal routine?
Well, we've definitely found a way for people to connect, different groups in the church to connect every day. So for women, there's Couch and Coffee. Our life group leaders all still meeting from home. And so there was quite a learning curve teaching our lay people how to lead Zoom meetings, and they've done so well with it. And I feel like the most meaningful thing has been meeting with our core leaders. I've been meeting with them every week and just teaching them about leading through crisis. And that's been an amazing thing. And then we have a communion and prayer Zoom throughout the week too. And so just having those moments for our leaders, to pour into our leaders, to help them help shepherd our community, has been very meaningful for me.
Cool, thank you. Now, Trent and Alan, you guys, Al, you're an evangelist, so your daily thing's a little different. And you and your wife have been doing something at night. And Trent, you guys are doing several things to reach out to your communities as well. Al, if you could go first.
Well, one of the things is because I'm an evangelist, and I don't have a congregation that's consistently looking to me in this time as leadership. We've been spending a lot of our time supporting people with joy. I think, people just need to laugh. They need to feel like we're still together in community. And so we just been sharing.
Al, he's never been associated with joy.
Sharing a bunch of embarrassing moments in history. And I haven't even talked about the things Mark Benson and I did at Southeastern. But
and you won't.
But we want people to know that there's hope, and the joy of the Lord is our strength. And so that's kind of what we've been doing at night, and then connecting with pastors during the day and helping them address their digital micro campuses.
Trent?
Yeah, that's awesome to hear, Al. So up here, we've kind of taken the approach is that the way we used to do it isn't the way we're going to continue to do it. And post-COVID, we're really trying to revisit, like, what does it look like? What's going to be our new normal, right? So some of the things tactically that we're doing up here in Northeastern Ohio is every day, 9 a.m., we're doing daily prayer on Zoom. And then on Fridays, we're on YouTube Live, Facebook Live. And then we just felt so clearly, like at the end of the workday, at the end of the day of being stuck with kids and doing homeschooling, is that moms and dads really need a moment to just kind of detach. And so Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday nights at 7 o'clock, my boss and I, Mark Hurst and I, are co-hosting just Bible studies called The Crew. And like we're going through Francis Chan's Forgotten God right now. And it's just been really cool to connect that way. And then really something our churches love to worship. We're an active, vibrant congregations on both campuses. And so on Wednesday nights, we do a night of worship, a little acoustic, a little, guitar, and with our worship leader on Wednesday night. And then our sister campus down the street, they're doing a night of worship on Friday nights. And then, of course, on Sunday, everyone's doing some sort of .com, .live platform. So we do 4 services on Sunday, with our last service being at 6 o'clock. And then right at 7 o'clock, just because we have so many baby Christians or newer believers, right at 7 o'clock following the 6 o'clock service, I do a talk it over with Trent. And basically what we do is just kind of maybe some points that Mark made, maybe some questions that maybe came up during the service and they needed some clarification. At 7 o'clock, I just get on a Zoom call with whoever wants to join me. And we just do a talk it over together. And sometimes I'll bring our teaching pastors or some teaching directors with me. And it's just another way to engage our community. And so all in all, we're layering 15 different online events in the course of a week over the last 5 weeks. And so in some ways we're working harder, but it's just so cool to see the fruit of what's really happening through the whole COVID crisis. I agree with Mark. It's just, if we were ministering to hundreds before, we're ministering to thousands. And the fields are just wait for harvest for new people to come to Christ, or at least get curious about coming to church again. Some of the people that I talked to today would have never came in the doors of Living Water Church. However, they'll engage me in an online experience. It's been pretty cool, Joel.
Cool, very cool. I have a surprise question I just thought of. Sorry, you're going to be all put on the spot, and Jason, you and Liz are going to go first. Okay. Now, Trent mentioned it. We're doing 4 services, Trent?
Yeah.
Okay. So you could just do one service on a Sunday since it's online. Those of you that are still doing more than one, what was your reasoning for that?
Start with us. Our reasoning was people just want options. And
Okay.
so not everybody's a 9 a.m. person. So we kept our normal service times, 9, 10, 15, and 11:30, because we do believe at some point we're going to get back to normal. And so like Trent just said a minute ago, we've had a lot of people in the chat say, this is my first time. I can't wait to come check it out in person. And so our thought is more options create more opportunities for more people to come to know Jesus.
All right. Anybody else have another reason beyond that they'd like to add? Show of hands. Mark?
Joel, one thing that we have shifted to is a mentality that when we do go back, my hope as a pastor would be that, like after 9/11, the churches would be jam-packed full. But my gut tells me that with social distancing and people still in fear, the possibility exists that what us pastors really love, which is crowds, is going to be potentially a fear base for some people. And so to be able to take that fear away by producing additional services when we return, even if the place isn't jam-packed, it'll actually help people. So our intention is to not only do that online where we're doing multiple services online, like the menu was talked about, but also the significance of knowing that we'll have to have a new normal in the very near future.
Anyone else? All right. Okay, now we're going to combine a few things. Let's talk about youth, children, women's ministries, men's ministries. If you have experienced adults, we'll call it, whatever the case may be. Anybody have anything they want to share for sure on things your church is doing for those? Anyone? Josh?
Yeah, we definitely have a multi-generational church, so we've had to kind of look at every generation and how are we addressing things differently. So we have seniors who, we're trying to walk them through online engagement, but some are just at that season of life. And the way we look at it from a staff is, if it was your grandparents, how would you want them pastored during this season? So we have some volunteers. Part of the reason we pre-record is we have some care people that are delivering DVDs to some of our seniors who just don't have an opportunity to engage online. And so we've just that's one area, when it was coming for Palm Sunday and Holy Week, we sent out boxes with communion elements in it, devotions to lead all the way through. And while the packaging probably reached more of our millennials and younger families, the fact that we sent physical mail, our seniors were just in love. And, we've gotten a lot of positive feedback from that. With students and kids, we kind of did the same thing for kids. We put an egg hunt in a box for every kid that's attended within the past 6 months. So even families that may have been loosely engaged, they got a package with their kid's name on it, with a couple of dozen eggs in there, and then some interactive elements that were tied to our Sunday morning kids service. So kept some excitement leading up to Easter for students. They're doing life journal groups during the week. Our youth pastor and youth leaders are engaging with middle school groups and high school groups. They're doing that through Zoom. And then once a week, our youth pastor does kind of a live service, more of a sermon based that kids can engage with. But as much engagement at every generation, we're not just saying, hey, we're going to do one thing and put it out and it's going to reach all the needs. We're just really asking the question that for young families, what does this look like? We see more young families engage in small groups right now because childcare is not an issue. Small groups can be online. What are we doing for teenagers? What are we doing for kids, all the way through to our seniors?
Yeah, I'll just weigh in. That's all great stuff, Josh. So we've had a really good rate of success with our Instagram.live platform with our youth. They're all on it anyway, and so we've just kind of adopted that as a platform. And then we're also Zooming with the kids. Our youth pastors took Easter baskets to all the kids this week. And then one thing that we're doing for our parents is during our talk at overtime, we're also hyperlinking into just different parent resources for kids and parents who have kids of all ages. And so You know, we really kind of taken them. I mean, if we wanted to be the equippers and be that resource person before, it feels like, Joel, like there's this new urgency, like we got to go to the next level and continue to put resources for our parents to really parent well. Because, you know, as we know, stress causes fractures, and fractured families are not happy families. So we as a church are called to really kind of, you know, continue to bring families together through whatever resources necessary.
I was just going to say that I became a homeschool mom for the first time. Suddenly my kids are at home all the time. And so I have a 12-year-old, a 9-year-old, and a 5-year-old. And no, not Jason too.
And it turns out we don't like them as much as we thought we did.
They're just okay. They're just okay. No. So we didn't want to like stress our parents out by being like, and sit down for a 12-part devotional with your kids every night. Because like if I get that right now as a mom, I'll be like, actually guys, just connect with Jesus in your own way, you know. So one thing we've thought that people are really missing is like in person, which we can't do obviously, but we have an amazing children's pastor, Pastor Ida, and she organized like drive-bys and we've been trying
wait, like parades, not like drive.
not a drive.
Okay,
okay. Clarify. We have an organized crime, yes. So parades more so than drive-bys, yes. That is a new terminology that we've really reclaimed that word. Okay, so more so like parades, celebrating the kids, doing things like that, and people have really appreciated it. Still getting birthday cards. Like I feel like letters are making a comeback, which is super cool. Like I get excited about something in the mail, but not trying to like you just said, Trent, stress and fracture the families more, because it's already so much making sure like every kid has their homework done every day. We're all learning. It's so scary and new. So instead, just trying to do things kind of like Alan said, that bring like joy and fun more so. We did the Easter eggs too, but you know, we have like a bedtime story online every night for the kids if they want to put it on.
We're starting an online trivia night tonight through Zoom and Kahoot, I guess.
Like y'all watch HQ every night, which is like a fun app. We're gonna do something like that for access.
Yeah, I think the point is that we know that not every person is going to do everything. But if we give lots of options, it gives people in our church an opportunity to jump in when there's something that they want to do.
Yeah.
One other thing I wanted to add is, how are you handling praise and worship now as part of your service? Some of you are a part of that. I've heard some of you sing, and you shouldn't be, but I know some of you are excellent at it. So how are you handling that as well? Trent?
Yeah, hey, I'll just weigh in with a couple of things that seem to be going okay, and a couple of things that we've absolutely thrown out. Number one is we're pre-recording our worship services now, and so what that's done is been able to help us to balance the shorter shots on video versus the longer shots. Younger crowds seem to really love the short shots, the more action shots. The older folks, and unfortunately I'm included in that, we kind of like a little bit of a longer video shot. And so we've gone back to the drawing board as far as an editing perspective, pre-recording all of our worship services now. The second thing we've done with our online worship services is every worship service has an online host. And so right now they have a kind of a transcript of the message, the main points, the ideas, some preloaded scriptures that they can fill into the comment field to kind of help facilitate conversation during worship. And then some of the things that we're kind of still working on from an online worship perspective is, and we've seen it done really well, but we just haven't gotten it quite together yet. And the congregations appear to be like really engaging during the worship, lots of likes, lots of hearts, you know, lots of great feedback. But when it comes to the sermon, it's like there's crickets. And so the analytics for the web stuff really kind of takes a nosedive during the message. And so what we're really trying to explore is how can we get our speakers, our communicators to really engage as if they were with the audience in that moment. So can I get an amen, or can I get a like, can I get a love, can I get a wow? You know, just trying to create some sort of engagement, because we know the more people are engaged, the more people will be enthused about God's word.
All right. Anybody else want to throw anything in on that topic? All right, ladies, this is for you four. Okay. So anything that you've found reaching out to the other ladies in your churches, and whatever your roles are in your church that you're doing differently now, or that you would like to suggest that other people look into? So who would like to go first? How about you, Michelle?
Sure. Well, I was going to speak to what we were doing. Something that we started doing during this crisis is each day we have given each ministry an opportunity to do an online devotion. Example being Mondays are for our brotherhood, Tuesdays are youth, Wednesdays are for business owners, and so forth. And one being the sisterhood, which is our women's ministry. And they have seemed to really connect and enjoy that. I just go on there and kind of do a 5 to 10 minute devotion, but the live Facebook Live, they have loved connecting to that. They feel like, okay, they are in my home with me.
Mhm.
And so that is probably something that I will continue afterwards. I know a lot of people have already had done that previous, but I think for me and the women here, I think I'm going to continue doing that just to connect out. There's been phone calls, and I'm with Lisa, the whole old school, even the writing the notes and the cards. Like, I did not think that it really could happen, because if you have a small amount, you can kind of write it. But what we did is divide up our leaders and had them handwrite a postcard or a letter of our card, saying, we're praying for you, whatever you need, connect with us here. And that, believe it or not, of all ages, has meant the world to them. So there you go for old school, right?
I did a Facebook group page with my ladies, and we've been doing a Bible study together on Habakkuk, just sure-footed faith in uncertain times. And so what I do is just give them an outline of lessons for the week that they can incorporate into their quiet time at their convenience, because they are all, young moms who are homeschooling, and their days are busy. So they do that on their own. And then on Friday nights, we Zoom together and discuss what we've learned that week and what we've studied. And so we're doing that. And I do think that we may continue to do that, because that is something that is easier for people to get involved with than actually showing up somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
And then just loads of text. I haven't done the handwritten thing, but loads of text, just to keep a connection there. And so those are two things we've done.
All right. Rhonda?
Well, one of the things that we've been doing that I'd like to continue afterwards, because I've enjoyed it so much, is we've been doing some Zoom calls that we record and we edit to make a video out of it. And we use that to do like a Sunday morning greeting, or we read the passage of scripture, and it's other people involved. So one of the things that I've enjoyed is that there's so many people involved in our service, and been doing the same thing with women, getting women to pray, do prayers to send out, or to do devotions. And I've been so encouraged by them. So seeing our congregation take more of a front row leadership approach to this crisis, I think has been encouraging for them to be involved in the process. And so I know moving forward that I want to keep that integrated, is, give people the opportunity, just hearing people pray on a whole new level. The scriptures that they're reading it's blessed me. And I know it's been a blessing to other people. So with the women ministers in Georgia, I've been just trying to get different leaders to make videos to send out, to be a blessing to other people, and definitely something that I want to continue on. It's been real encouraging.
Liz?
Really just checking in. I feel like a huge crisis of life right now for many of us is anxiety. And especially as soon as this started, anxiety was the word we kept hearing from our people. You know, I'm just having anxiety. When is this going to be over? I feel so alone. There's women that are single, that live by themselves, that have literally no one. And so just really using I always believe in the 1-2 punch against anxiety. So God's word and the Holy Spirit, but also practical sometimes. You know, you need something to hang on to when you are just out there to dry. So finding ways to connect, whether it's stopping by their house with muffins, leaving it on the door. I mean, that's small scale for a large church, but if more and more people get that vibe and get that idea coming from the top down, from us down, and saying, hey, this is what we're doing, maybe you could try, really just trying to help them that right now, even this time of anxiety, we can cling to Jesus Christ, who is the same yesterday, today, and forever. Because I know men struggle with anxiety too, but for women, a lot of us, you know, crave sameness and just stability and steadiness. So it's been hard. You know, we don't know when this will end. So really trying to meet them on their practical level, but also meet those spiritual needs, trying to find out how can we deal with anxiety? How can we do it together? Because you aren't alone. So I check in with ladies weekly on Zoom, text, call, letters, whatever we can do. We all miss Target. I mean, if we're honest, we all miss Target. And that's where we're at right now. We need help.
Men are doing fine with the Target.
Send help. Seriously, Target, if you're listening. Send us help.
I'm going to start this next one with Josh and Al. And if you don't have anything, admit it and brag about it. Anything that you found that does not work or didn't work for you guys that we can help somebody else avoid. Josh, we can start with you.
I think probably the biggest thing is we realized real quick that service can't look how service has always looked. People are engaging in worship and the message completely differently than they have in the past, which is one of the reasons, you know, I think we chose to pre-record so that we could. We're trying to change things as frequently as we can. So this week we moved locations of where we filmed worship and filmed the message just to keep engagement level high. So I think for us, the biggest thing we've learned is we just can't settle in and say, oh, this is normal until we go back. We've got to keep innovation at the forefront of what we're doing. So
that's really good, Josh. You know, it's funny. I think probably the way I've been looking at it, you know, I'm an evangelist. I've been to a lot of amazing churches, most of yours, and it's been a blessing. And I come from a little bit of a different angle on this. I think one of the main fails that we've all experienced, I believe, is been so excited about engagement numbers. You know, I got an engagement number from this past weekend. We had over 50,000 people attached to our Easter stream. But let's engage on a different level. How many were visitors? How many were in our community? How many are even in the United States? How many of them became Christians this weekend? How many are fully surrendered followers of Christ? How many were transfers from other churches? We've got to get past the window dressing of the numbers now. And we've got to dig into the discipleship, digital discipleship. Where are these people? Who are these people? And how can we get more into their life?
So Al, speaking of digital discipleship, you shared something with me the other day in order to help some pastors out. You want to talk about that real quick?
Absolutely. I'll do as quickly as I can. It'll probably take 3 minutes if you guys can put up with my voice that long. I've been on the sidelines. I'm an evangelist. And I've been praying for 2 or 3 weeks saying, God, what can I do to help my friends, my brothers and my sisters? What can I do to influence this process? And the main thing that God showed me was that the New Testament church, in fact, I called Jason right after this and we talked about it a little bit, that the New Testament church never stopped gathering at the tabernacle. Even though they met in their homes, they never stopped meeting in the tabernacle. And because of that, they grew exponentially. So when these guys began their New Testament church, what we experienced there is what we can experience now, a digital micro campus. In a digital micro campus, it's going to take a lot of pressure off of the pastor. We're going to use new muscles, and we're going to spend a lot of our time with our fully surrendered followers of Christ, our devoted servant leaders in our church, developing them into micro campus coaches. These people are sitting at their homes, not with nothing to do, but they want something that matters that they can do. And if we can equip them and say, hey, take on 10 people, 15 people, and you create viewing parties for Sunday service. Now we're able to pastor our Sunday services. Now we're able to follow up with the people in our Sunday services. Now we know who's on, who's not. Now the fun way of attaching this to what we're currently doing is what I call the New Testament digital micro campus draft. Bum, 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 ba-dum, ba-dum, bum. So imagine you sit down with 150 volunteers from your church or 10 volunteers from your church, and you have a list of everybody in the role of your church, and you say, okay, guys, you have 15 people you can select for your micro campus. Then you say, okay, there's more people than that, so here's 10 we're going to gift you for your micro campus. Now when these campus coaches call or connect with these people, they say, hey, I met with pastor and the team. I picked you for my micro campus. We're going to have fun together for 3 months. Every 3 months, this might all change, but for the next 3 months, I picked you. Would you like to join my team? Instantly, we've created buy-in on something that's been really difficult for churches around the world, is to go from 0 to fellowship small groups or from small groups to digital micro campuses. And now we have the ability to check attendance, personal spiritual growth, volunteerism, discipleship, and generosity, all in a small group that meets during the broadcast of your service and midweek at some point with a fellowship moment, kind of like that fun thing that Jason has been sharing with us, that we do as a small group leading into Sunday. Instead of coming out of Sunday, now we lead into Sunday with momentum. Maybe in our small group, we talk about the geography of the sermon location that's going to be preached on Sunday. So everything creates this momentum towards Sunday. And what we've seen in 4 churches I've been helping with the digital micro campus, nearly 40% increase in engagement of people in the actual community of your church, as well as a 40% increase in giving with those churches. People just want to be together.
Mm-hmm. Thank you, Al. And for the alumni watching, we'll push you to Al for some of that information. If you want to know more about that, we can definitely get you in touch with him.
Now, probably more than 3 minutes.
You're good, buddy. Starting with Ed and Christy, and then Mark and Michelle, and then to Trent. Any platforms you guys have found to be incredibly helpful in communicating with people, hosting things or whatever? Anything you would suggest?
You know, out of all the churches here, I know Josh's church well, I know Rhonda's church well. We're the smallest church represented here, and by far. And a lot of the platforms that we use, I'm just going to just say this because there are a lot of people watching. You might look at it and go, well, my church is smaller. I can't do what these guys do. You know, platforms of things we've done, like doing the gift bags. I got that idea from Josh. We were in a pastor's meeting, and Josh mentioned about mailing out gift boxes with communion. So I was like, okay, that's a great idea. I was kind of thinking of that. And I'm using, a lot of times I pay attention to what you guys are doing. And what we're doing right here is just sharing with each other. But on a smaller level, to be able to do that, I mean, I'm in a situation where we don't have a full-time children's pastor. And our associate pastor who was over youth, we just went through a transition when this started. And it's really hard to bring in. I mean, I've been interviewing, but it's hard to bring in somebody and move somebody in the middle of this. And so that was kind of like everything hit at one time. But we've seen everything grow. Us on a smaller level, I know not everybody can do it, but you can use, like, you know, get 10 volunteers, 100 volunteers, whatever it is. Just the personal visit. When we took out those gift bags, I sat down on a porch with a guy that's 92 years old, talking to him through a screen door while I'm sitting on his porch. You know, that I know meant the world. I mean, he's by himself, 92 years old, and just sitting there talking with him, praying with him. His daughter, who lives in Spain, has now started following our church because she wants to know how her dad is doing. So it's made me, I've been more connected with her, letting her know we're checking on him, making sure he's okay, gives her peace. She is in everything that we do at our church now from Spain because of all the new platform of everything being online. So I know I'm not really answering your question, but the platform that we have has just opened up so many things. And I think Mark said we're not going to be the same. There's no way we can go back to exactly. We've opened doors that we can't close now. And all it's doing is, I'm seeing more people lives change during this, and people coming closer to God through this than I ever have. I had the opportunity to do the government payment, with my situation that I'm in. You think, well, we better jump on that. And we prayed about it. Joel, you and I talked about this the other day, and what God has done. We started praying about it. Do we do this? And God said, trust me. And, I've got a guy in our church who, he's brand new. He's in our starting point. It's our new membership class. We're still doing that. This guy, he is bought into the blessed life. That's one of the things that I share with him to do. He's watched the blessed life. And so far with us, our finances for our church, March was our best month of the year. April is already better than March was. And God just said, trust me, not the government. It's amazing what he's doing. And a couple of weeks ago, one of the platforms was I felt led to have a missionary do a 10-minute window during one of our online services. And I interviewed Tom Benegas. A lot of you guys know Tom. Phyllis was in the hospital. And so Tom shared that day. I said, Tom, we're going to give you an offering. I know things are tight right now. We gave him an offering. And online, I had some guy from Massachusetts send money. He was platform. It's amazing how God is just blessing it. And it's not been a hard time. And anyway, I don't know if it really answered your question, but there you go.
Oh, good. Mark and Michelle, you guys have any?
Hey, Joel,
Yep.
Can I throw a question in real quick? I know I'm not the moderator of this, but how are we going to preach when this is done? We've been preaching 15-minute sermons.
As if
Help.
If 15 minutes works.
So, Joel, you mentioned the platforms, and I think the platform that Al is talking about is an evangelist and pastor platform that we all love, which is, I suppose, hearing our own voices. And we've realized that people don't want to hear our voices as much as we thought. Guys, I feel like this is a mandate. This is our moment. God is trusting us, not just with this moment, but what we do after this moment. And yes, as I mentioned earlier, we've used probably every media outlet that we could possibly think of. But I think there's even more creative ideas that are just waiting for us. If we'll listen to the Holy Spirit, if we'll get in our prayer closet, this is a time of strategy. And I don't know another time in human history where we've had both the crisis, we've had pandemics historically going back, 100, 200 years ago that have been dealt with, but never with this level of technology. And so it's forced us to rethink what's really important in church. Why do we exist? Are these a bunch of programs that we have to have? Or are they things that we can do without? And I think it's requiring us to hear from the voice of the Lord. Lord, what do you really want the church to look like? Right. And how can we reach people strategically? Yes, We can use Instagram and Twitter and Facebook, and we can use I don't think it's either or, it can be both and. I think we can use every single outlet, podcasts for those who just want to listen, and video streaming for those who want to watch. But I think if we can learn to engage, I think to speak to Alan's point, the hardest thing that we've found is people have said, well, just be relational, just be relational. And for those of you that have done church where you've actually preached to an empty sanctuary, that's a lot harder than you think. We've been in this thing for 20,
filming, yes.
We've been in this for 25 years in full-time ministry, preaching to people, and been in the hardest of situations, including youth ministry, which is the hardest when kids are doing crazy stuff during your message. But this is by far the hardest thing we've ever had to do, is try to get relational when we're in an empty sanctuary. But what I do believe is that God's going to use this time to help every pastor, first of all, rethink what we're doing and figure out, is it really, really what God intended when he established a New Testament church? And secondly, what I think is it's going to all drive us to our knees, hopefully, to hear the voice of the Lord, to say, God, what do you really want us to do? When we start back up, what is a new normal? And are we doing what the Father's asked of us? Because I want to hear at the end of all this, well done, good and faithful servant. That's all I want to hear. I don't care about all the numbers. We can juke the stats a little bit, because we know that there's been at least 3 cell phones that have been watching in our household on Sunday morning. So we know we haven't increased by 1,500. We know that. I've been watching 5 other churches during this time as well. Mm-hmm. So this isn't, what Alan said is so true. We've got to find out who is a new believer, who's a new convert, how can we minister them most effectively during this time?
Great.
And I think we're still, we're praying for the strategy for what it's going to look like after this.
Yeah.
I mean, when Lisa was talking about women want the sameness, there's the part of me, the human side of me, that wants things to go back the same because it feels right in my humanness. But the spirit part of me is, I don't want us to go back to the same or where we were, the church as a whole, because I do believe the Spirit has given us this opportunity, and he's prepared us and preparing us for something that looks different than what we've been doing before. Yeah.
It's like this same sentence that has kept rolling over during this theme. It's like, God believes in us. Like we say we believe in God, but I'm believing through this that he put us on this earth for a strategic reason during this time, during this crisis as leaders. So that means God believes in us. So what are we going to do with it?
We ventured into this a little bit already. Jason and Liz, if you guys could start us, what are you going to do after quarantine? Probably it won't be back to normal, but what will you take back from what we've learned now, that kind of stuff? If you could start us here.
It's a great question. I think of that moment in Acts chapter 8 when there was these new followers of Jesus. The Holy Spirit has empowered all these new believers. And then it says they're all huddled up in Jerusalem. And then Acts chapter 8, it says a great persecution broke out. And what happened? The Christians dispersed all over the known world and the gospel spread. I think that's what we're in the middle of. And then what we get to live with is what happens in Acts chapter 9 through current day. What I mean by that is simply this, is that this pandemic has created an opportunity for the church. I think that while it's hard to know what our actual numbers and headcounts and salvations and all of those numbers are, it is impossible to deny that the church has dispersed, and this has forced us into so many different opportunities and homes. And I've heard from so many different people that their friend, their neighbor that they've invited for so long has finally come to one of our online experiences. So I don't know what the future looks like. I don't know this, we live in Florida where hurricanes come, and so we lose a Sunday because of the hurricane, and then the next Sunday we're back. This is a rolling problem that I don't know when we'll feel like quote unquote normal again, but I don't know that that's a problem. So the question is, what do we take from this? And I do think that our church was already doing a pretty good job, in my opinion, of creating digital opportunities, but we have found that there's just so many more opportunities that we can create for people. And so again, not everybody's going to take a part of everything that we do, but I love that we've taken ministry from just being inside our church and from just being Sunday mornings to now it's 7 days a week. It's meet needs, it's connect any way you possibly can. Sometimes it's relational, sometimes it's spiritual, but let's do whatever we can and leverage whatever technology we can to help connect and reach people.
Josh?
Yeah, I think we're kind of in the same boat. For so long, I think churches have moved to really focusing on this Sunday morning experience within the four walls, even having an online presence. But what we're recognizing is by us decentralizing, we're really becoming more effective in our reach. I think it's forcing us to look at discipleship differently and really ask some tough questions. Are we really discipling our people? Are we really on this journey of faith with them? Or do we just say that and we really put all of our eggs into a Sunday morning message? So for us, it is just forcing us to ask tough questions, and we want to keep doing that, keep becoming more accessible to those around us, making our front door, a lot wider for a lot more people.
Rhonda?
Well, a couple of things that I think about is just the empowering of leaders on different platforms. I've really liked people stepping up out of their comfort zones, lay leaders out of their comfort zone to share from their heart, to lead on different platforms. And I've loved it so much that I definitely want to continue giving people a space and a voice. And one of the things that we've seen is that God is bigger than our buildings, and God is definitely bigger than our programs, because our programs shut down and our front doors closed, but the church became bigger than ever. And so I want to remember that, like, I don't want to do programs just to do programs, because God's bigger than that. And so I want to continue the investment in leaders and encouraging people to share from their quiet space with the Lord and to step up and try new things. So I definitely want to continue the empowerment of leaders to step up and just maybe even invest in our leaders, continue the Zoom meetings where it's easy for people to gather within the context of their evenings at home, instead of always having to bring people out, and invest in this way in our leaders.
Great. Okay, one last question, and it's kind of a free time for you. If there's anything else you wanted to share or talk about, I know Mark's going to go first here, but we'll have some others. But anything else you want to add to the conversation today? This is your chance.
Yeah, well, one thing that I want to encourage is, as we know, we are going to be going back. They are going to reopen, and we don't know exactly what that's going to look like, but following CDC guidelines and the president and your local officials, it is going to be a big deal as it relates to how people view your church. But the other thing that I want to just encourage you and maybe even caution some pastors with right now is that you may be making a lot of quick decisions. I know the time frame between my normal decision making between prayer and study and then getting as a effective leader has been truncated. I've had to make quick decisions and snap decisions. But one thing that we've had to do is look at our bylaws. And I really encourage every pastor to know your bylaws really well during this time, because we've had, like, for example, new board members that were supposed to be established, and deacon meetings that were supposed to happen, an annual business meeting, the emergency business meeting for the CARES Act with the payroll protection program, things like that, that most churches have to have congregational votes. And so there's a lot of decisions that I'm encouraging pastors to go back to their bylaws and confirm that they have the right to make, so that when they come back together, they won't have issues. We want to come out of this crisis better than when we started.
That's great advice. Trent, you said you had something, buddy.
Yeah, Mark, this is so good. And so, I would challenge, all the leaders who are, going to watch this call, just to continue to be creative, and continue to think out of the box, and continue to go ahead and make mistakes. And when we were at Southeastern, our professors and my dean of men, man, every time I made a mistake, it was always, there was always a teaching moment, an encouraging moment. And so I just want to encourage the leaders who are watching this to continue to fail forward, continue to look around and see what your brothers are doing, your co-pastors in the area, and just continue to explore. And if you fail, it's okay. You know, it's just fine. It's going to work out. A couple of things that we're doing is we found our hunger task force in Stark County here in Ohio. And so we partnered with the Stark County Hunger Task Force, who's funding all of the groceries. And we're literally dropping thousands of pounds of groceries on the streets of Massillon, Ohio, every week. And there's not even a dime coming out of our budget for that. And so tactically, would I go looking for the Stark County Hunger Task Force on a normal basis? No. Could there be some drawbacks maybe down the road? Maybe. But what am I doing today is I'm doing what Jesus asked us to do, and that was to feed people. Another thing that our church is doing now that we probably wouldn't have done is we partnered with Faith in Stark and the Stark County Small Business Task Force. And so we've taken a portion of our operational funds and diverted them into our benevolence fund. And now small businesses in our county can apply for a grant that's funded by a group of church pastors, just like me and you guys. And so we're, as a church, First Friends, First Christian, Assembly of God, Living Water, we're all putting together our funds to be able to grant small businesses to keep them afloat. And then, you know, and I heard this all at Southeastern, and all my friends on the call kind of already said it, is faith sometimes is, you know, you can't always see it, you can't always smell it, you can't always feel it. But what happens when you operate in faith, all of a sudden the power of the Holy Spirit begins to follow your faith. And so I would just challenge the leaders who get to be on this call and who are going to watch this call to continue to revisit your benevolence and your outreach and your missional budgets and recommit to those and just continue to bring the dollars forward, because as I believe Ed mentioned, you know, God is going to continue to provide. And so, but you know, we have to take the first step. Faith always requires us taking a step. And I challenge you guys as leaders. I love you guys. Take the step forward. If you don't have the courage to do it, grab the hand of another brother, another sister, whoever you are, and take that step together. So I love you guys. Thanks for allowing me to be on the call today.
Anybody else?
Yeah, if I can, the most incredible thing that we can do right now in this time is remember that content is amazing. I know that in the digital sphere, content is king, but in the church, discipleship is king. And there's almost every one of you on here is an amazing discipler. And I'm just so excited about this generation of leaders and what's coming.
One of the things that's been such a blessing to our church, probably an unexpected thing that we weren't even thinking was going to happen during this time, is there's been some needs in our community that we've just been able to find out, just being in contact with nurses and people in foster care within our church body, that there's been specific needs that have come up, and it's really been a burst of energy to our church family to be able to be involved in these things. Just like with our hospitals, they needed things like just individually wrapped snacks, because nurses and healthcare workers don't have time to eat meals. And they needed lotion for their hands because they wash their hands so much. And so I was just so surprised by it. We just opened up the foyer of our church so people could do drop-offs. And our church just flooded our hallways with snacks and lotions, and we put stickers on, you know, just to let healthcare workers know that we're praying for them. And it's just been a huge blessing. And then for our church to be able to divert their attention outwardly, I think has been good for them. Foster care is up exponentially right now with kids being at home. So there's a lot more kids in the foster care system. So there's been an overload. And there's just been, if you ask your foster care community what they have need of right now, they could rattle it off fast. And so it's been a good way to reach out to people that make new relationships that we've never made before, just by being involved in our community.
Anybody else? Anything to add? All right. Well, thank you guys so much for being a part of this and just making this resource for the alumni. If this continues going on for a few more weeks, we may have to do something like this again. But thank you all. I appreciate it. And Y'all have a wonderful day.
Thanks, Joel.
Um,